This is weird. This is not working. Live control and kick the stream. Why? No. Stream settings. Dude, how do I get the GoPro thing switched off on here? I don't know what happened. Yeah, how do I switch it from the GoPro to my computer? Because I didn't set it up that way. It's so weird. Well, no, I don't even have the GoPro on. Yeah, all right. I'll play around with it. Keep everybody entertained. Yeah, that's what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to probably do that right now. All right, hold on. Dashboard, content. Channel, manage videos, live. Why can't I get in here? Manage videos. Open the YouTube app. Okay, that's the same. Live. Create. Tab create. Okay, this is not going well. That the let's see. Let's see if I can stream settings. Oh, you guys can hear me? That's great. I have no idea what the fuck is going on right now. Pardon my French. Let's see. Upper right desktop Windows. All right, Critter, I'm on it. I see what you're saying. I think I've almost got it, everybody. I'm so sorry. No idea what the hell is happening right now with the YouTube thing. Someday I'll be a unicorn. Let's see here. Video camera. What's on it? Oh, God damn it. Popeye. um, picture. Why is it doing this to me? All right, major kudos to Kendra right now because she's FaceTiming with me and we're going to get this figured out. Hold on. Kendra, I'm FaceTiming you if you can hear me. Hi, help me. What in the hell is going on?
Go into your settings and see if you can like turn off like that camera, like background.
How Settings.
Like your computer settings.
Tell me which to click. Oh, computer. Got it. Maybe that's what's fucked up.
Yeah, you have to shut it off. Shut it all off.
This is what I get for trying to make this as fun and whatever as possible. I should have checked all of this ahead of time. Okay, so computer settings. Let's see. I know you can all hear me. All right.
Hi, Grace. We all love you in the chat.
Hi, I love you too, guys. Hold on. Let's see. General.
Oh my God, that's loud.
Sorry.
No, it was him. His phone's right here, so it's like echoing.
Okay. All right, so I'm looking in here. Hold on.
It's gonna be your video stuff.
I know.
You just gotta shut that stinking thing off. They're not showing up.
No, of course not. I'm just gonna click.
Are you just using YouTube as your streaming service?
Yeah, I have been in the past.
Okay.
Oh my good God. What a nightmare. I'm so sorry. Major apologies with the streaming issues. Hopefully I didn't lose too many people. If I did, again, I apologize. And yeah, holy shit. I'm terrible at technology, which is ironic considering the fact that I am a videographer. But in general, I just want to say thank you all so much for being here. It's really wonderful to kind of celebrate today. Oh man, this book has been sitting on my computer for over a year. I wrote this book when I was living on the road and was really excited, essentially to put it together and get it out there for everybody. And I hope everybody enjoys it. But I have also, by the way, while I know everybody's been listening to me nervously mouth breathe and everything else, I've been watching the chat. It's been absolutely hilarious. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me for 20 fucking minutes while I figured this out. So yes, I'm so glad everybody's here. But I guess the big question I have for all of you is, do you have any questions for me? And it could be anything from traveling to motorcycles to stories in the book. I did change a couple of names in the book just for anonymity reasons, but I also did that because not everybody will like how they're portrayed in the book. And so just trying to make sure that nobody gets too upset about that. But I don't remember if it was Benjamin Franklin or who said this, but if you do not want to be remembered poorly, then you should not behave poorly. So anyway, Tall Man Moto, what is this book I speak of? It's my book. It's The Renegade. It came out today. Let's see, what else do we got? Diameter of the hoop earrings. 4 fingers. We're crushing it. Yes, I did change Ben's name to Carlos. That's because he has an alter ego named Carlos when he's down in Baja drinking Modelo's and eating tacos. So there you go. Carl, you are the villain in the book. You are very aware of that already. We have already had your contract signed of approval. So yes. Yes, the book is available on Amazon. So I put together an electronic copy and a print on demand copy because I do know that there are a lot of people like me that like to have a physical book. There are also a lot of people that are diehard Kindle people. I also took the time to record an audiobook. The audiobook is going to be released next Friday. And the reason for that is because I did the whole recording. I edited everything myself. It took a really long time. And I actually sent it to somebody just to have them listen to it and make any suggestions. And it took them a little bit longer. Also, the other reason for the delay of the release is because I was very sick and I lost my voice for almost 2 weeks. So everything kind of got pushed back. But yes, El Dorco Magnifico. But yeah, so the book is really kind of an interesting insight into my life. It explains a lot of who I am, a lot of my backstory, a lot of reasons why I decided to live off my bike in general. But on top of that, it's also just a story that's meant to inspire people to push themselves. And, you know, you don't have to be a complete psychopath like me and sell everything you own and go live off your motorcycle for 15 months. You know, sometimes it's just taking a trip you've always wanted to take, maybe pushing yourself to apply for another job or pushing yourself into a new hobby, anything like that. It's just meant to encourage people to try something different if they're at a point in life where things feel stagnant. You're feeling complacent in your own story. So I can't picture Grace not talking. Oh, yeah, I know. I don't know how to shut up sometimes. Carl's very aware of that. Carl spent almost a month on the road with me. Although, Carl, you're very chatty too. So I don't know who you're kidding, sir. But yeah, if anybody has any questions about my travels, any questions about the book, any questions about any of that, please feel free to throw it out in the chat. I'm going to scroll back real quick and make sure I didn't miss anything now that everything is working. Again, I'm so sorry, you guys. Someday I'll try and understand technology. Looks like we have some awesome people in here, some familiar faces and some new ones as well. Yes, I am drinking heavily, Ben. I have a nice wine pour here. Let's see. Ooh, that's Shalise. I'm so glad you're here, honey. I love you. What's my favorite story that I wrote about? That's a great question. I would say there's probably 3 stories I wrote about that are my favorite. One is talking about elephants in Thailand, which if anybody has watched my YouTube videos, my Thailand video has a lot of the elephant aspect in it. I mean, Thailand was a hell of a difficult trip. I was there with Alex at the time, and it was very, very hot. We suffered a lot, but getting to see elephants there and play with them in a river and have them that close was an incredible experience. I loved that. The other 2 were Vietnam as a whole. This is one of my favorite places I've ever been. I hope everybody enjoys that chapter. And if you get the chance to go, I highly recommend it. The people there are so wonderful. The experience is incredible. And north of Hanoi is some of the best single track riding I've ever done. The other was when I got to ride essentially through Yellowstone National Park after they reopened after having a major closure in 2022. Yes. It was that summer where they had a whole bunch of flooding and the park was closed. And so I got to essentially be in Yellowstone National Park when there was very, very few people there. And it was unreal. So those are probably my favorite 3. Let's see. Thank you for that question, Shalise. You're wonderful. I wonder, Nashville to Mississippi. It's a lot of trees. I'm sure it's a lot of that Midwest swamp forest. Being from Missouri myself, yeah. Any anxiety when I hit publish? Chris, there was so much anxiety when I hit publish. It was actually funny. Wes was videoing me last night, or I guess it was 2 nights ago, when I was submitting it for publication. And the reason for that anxiety is not because of the stories that I was telling about my travels, because I feel like a lot of you who have been following me know those stories, but the anxiety comes from the personal stories that I told in the book about, especially about my divorce. That was very difficult. Some of the grief I dealt with losing one of my dogs, because it was not a great time. I was just kind of one of the worst versions of myself. And I think admitting that and putting that out there is very difficult. And last was my own struggle with suicide. And this was about 6 years ago. And these are all things that I think I may or may not have briefly touched on ever with a handful of people. And really telling those stories and putting that out there was one of the most vulnerable things I've ever done. But one of the best things I learned about doing the Veterans Back 40 trip and doing the documentary with them, one of the things I learned was that by sharing, you can help others. And Chris, I know you know that with everything you do with Heads Up Guys and with all the other stuff. So it's always good to share because it offers an opportunity to connect with people in a much deeper facet. So that's lots of anxiety, yes, but I think for good reason. And also it's for a good cause, in my opinion, too. So thank you, Tall Man Moto. I know you've been doing a lot of live streams, and this was purely just I didn't look at the settings, oops, and then didn't know how to fix it. Technologically challenged 101 right here. The geographic settings of my book were multiple. It ranged all over North America. There were certain aspects of my travels that I had to leave out just because I wanted to focus on some of the more extraordinary things that occurred when I was traveling. Plus, I had the option of making this like a 500 or 600 page book versus a 250 page book. So I went with the latter. It just felt more readable. But Southeast Asia and North America, most of North America were a lot of my travels. Let's see. My favorite place to camp? That's such a good question. I think my favorite camp spot that I've ever had is in Wyoming. There was a lovely piece of land up in the mountains that was, I believe, ranch land. There was a gate. The gate was open, but ended up finding it off of a tent space site where, it can show ADV riders where they can go camp safely. And it was one of the most incredible campsites I've ever had, with the views of the mountains and sunrise and sunset being gorgeous, and no humans around for miles. That's probably one of my favorites. Yeah. Let's see. I have a question for Matt. How are both your viewers doing? Nice. Oh my God. Calm down, girls. Let's not get into a cat fight. All right. I'm from Sedalia, Mo. Oh, nice. John, I grew up about an hour west of St. Louis. Everybody? Yes, I love you, Carl. Thank you, Rick. I appreciate that. Let's see. Yeah, no humans for miles. Sign me up is exactly right. That's actually one of the things about Oregon that I love the most is I live in Central Oregon and I love it here. I especially love being able to go to places that I know there's not many people. It definitely makes a big difference when you're out camping and you want that isolation in nature to decompress. Don't get me wrong. Camping with friends, going to campsites, very, very fun. Sometimes it is the more the merrier, but I also do think there's those brilliant moments on a bike when you can get out into nature by yourself and experience it. And it's wonderful. And Oregon is a great place to do that. Chris, you have a great spot up there with Vancouver Island too, which is a lot of similar to terrain to us. But yeah, it's very special here. Let's see, what else do we have? Any other questions? I'm also happy to talk about Six Flags St. Louis. Six Flags St. Louis was quite an experience. I spent a lot of time there over summers when I was young. I think the Batman ride is still my favorite though. But yeah, I guess in other news with the book, I think one of my favorite stories from the book in general, other than the 3 kind of blips I shared is, and I guess this isn't even from the book. This is me just like really thinking about that year. I really think that one of the coolest aspects of finishing my year on the bike was doing the Veterans Back 40 documentary trip that I did when I got home from Thailand. And one of the reasons for that is it collectively brought together everything I had kind of learned in that year, not only with just being kind of a guerrilla videographer, but also, you know, being in the middle of nowhere in the Yukon and the Northern Territories. Wow, I can't talk. I swear I've only had like 3 sips of wine. And learning how to adapt not only with people, but with weather and circumstances, and really finding camaraderie in places you don't expect. On top of that, just having a deep emotional connection with people that were strangers to me before that trip. So it's really special. And you know, I'm constantly talking to the VB40 guys. I still miss you guys all the time, Carl. And you know, I just think you leave a trip like that and your family after that, and it's very awesome. Let's see. How are sales? Honestly, it's been kind of great. I got a lot of, I guess this is the new age of phones. I don't think about this stuff, but I got a lot of people that bought and sent me the screenshot of them ordering today. I haven't looked at analytics yet. I'm trying to have one of those days where I'm on cruise control because I don't want to Virgo it and overanalyze everything and start crunching numbers already. But so far, honestly, it's been great. If I sold 10 books today, I'd be happy. I just, the reason that I wanted to put this book, nothing to do with, you know, fiscally earning anything or even really growing my following. It's just, I had a collection of experiences and a collection of insight from my own life that I thought might help people or inspire people or drive people to want to try new things. And if that helps one person or sparks one person to do something different, that's all I care about. And I don't know, I had a lot of fun along the way, and being able to share that with an awesome community of people was the main thing for me. Let's see. Will I have a limited signing of books? So no signing is on the table as of right now. I'm going to have the mindset of, if people want me to sign books and you guys see me throughout motorcycle events in the spring and summer, absolutely, I would love to. The reason for that is just because I had done the traditional path of publishing in the past and it was a nightmare. And so my goal with this was to not only make it as easy on me as possible, but I also didn't want to wait a year or 2 years to have the book go to a publisher, have an editor run through it, have me run through it, go through all of the semantics around that. I would have much rather just done it myself, which is what I did. I mean, that's kind of the mentality I have had with a lot of stuff, is I just kind of figured out how to do it and I did it. Also, I just noticed that Tamsin is over here staring into, yeah, Annabelle's in the other corner over here too. But yeah, it's, I'm if I want to do something, I find a way to get it done. And with this, I just wanted to get it done and get it out there for people. That's all I cared about. And I figured if it had a strong enough message, it would carry to as many people as it needed to. Copy arrives Sunday. Awesome, Garth. I'm stuck for that. Yes, Carl, we definitely made our family. That's for sure. We need to have a reunion at some point. That would be wild. Chris, I think you could definitely write a book. And I think you should. You know, it takes a lot of just making yourself sit down and write it. But again, like, one of the things I had working in my benefit was I wrote a lot of these stories and a lot of these things down while I was traveling and while I was in the thick of it. I think that it can be very difficult to go back and try and relive and remember some of those things, but especially some of the details. Like, one of the things I take pride in with this book is I do give a lot of what I call trivia context about the places I've been. So there are, a lot of kind of random facts and things that I picked up along the way. The other thing too is when Alex and I were traveling on the road together, what is kind of hilarious is we both loved trivia. Like we were diehard trivia people. We would go into we actually, when we were in Calgary in Canada, went into a bar and won the Friends trivia there just by walking in, sitting down, having a couple beers and doing that. So we ended up doing trivia games in our Bluetooth headsets when we would travel to new places to learn about the place. And I took a lot of the information that I learned in those moments and just put it into the stories I was writing. So it takes a lot, but I also think there's a lot of good in that. Let's see. Yes, I will definitely sign all the books, I promise. And yes, reunion, please. Yes, puppies in the background, always angel face. That's kind of the story of my life, is dogs always in the background. You can't see Tundra, my 15-year-old. She's by the fireplace right now. Yes, women multitask very well. I think Kendra can attest to that. One other kind of use a voice recorder when on the road. Voice recorders are awesome. It's actually one of the best things about modern phones, I think, is you can take notes, voice to text very easily. And it definitely is a great way to get your thoughts down without having to sit down and type or find a piece of paper. Link for the book. So you might have to just either check. It's on my Instagram. You can also find it on Amazon. The name of the book is The Renegade, My Year of 100,000 Miles. You can also search my name, Grace Schuessler. It will come up there. Who is the shortest writer I know? I don't know. I know some short writers. I mean, if kids count, I know some very tiny 5 and 6-year-olds that love to hop on a little dirt bike. But let's see. Amazon. Hopefully your book will motivate. Yeah. I mean, I hope the book gets people out there writing. I mean, the big thing about the book is I chose motorcycles because it was a tool. I love motorcycles, don't get me wrong. And living off of one was an incredible experience. But one of the reasons I chose motorcycles was also because, it was the tool I had at my disposal to travel and to live very simply at a time when I was ready to live simply. And it just worked. I don't know. But I would really push people not just to explore motorcycles, but just to explore in general. If that's getting out in your truck and going for a longer drive than normal, or camping out in the truck bed, or that's, I think getting outside into nature is the one thing we all need to do more of. And the one thing we all need to make sure we're consistently doing, because it has healing effects on the brain and the body in ways we can't even imagine until we're out there. One of the things that I think is kind of amazing is I started to notice that the longer I was doing stints of camping and sleeping outside, the more comfortable and at ease I felt outside, even in extreme temperatures. It became a weird thing where I didn't like being indoors. I would much rather be outside. And I think that that's just the natural adjustment of things. And it shows you, I mean, we're meant to be outside. And yet nowadays we spend 85% of our time inside. It's absurd. Anyway, moving on. Soapbox there. I know Tall Man Moto. Small Man Moto is an awesome human and I adore him. But, I bet we could find someone smaller. I'm just saying, we probably could. Let's see what else we got. No, I didn't say Ben. Don't worry. Ben would kill me. Are you kidding? Also, he's shorter than me, but he's not that short. I know he just likes to give me shit because I have a 36-inch inseam and he does not. JJ might also be pretty close to being the shortest writer. What countries have I been to so far? A lot. I've all of North America, New Zealand, Australia, in Southeast Asia. I've been to Thailand, Vietnam, and Bali, Indonesia. I should say Indonesia, not Bali. Spent a little time in Laos, and let's see, where else around there? I think that's pretty much it for there. Technically, I've been to Taiwan very briefly. I've been all over Western Europe. I did a lot of that in my 20s. Lots of just cheap trips, packing a very light pack, taking trains everywhere, having a blast. But I think I've been to almost all of Western Europe other than Portugal, which is very high on my list. I got the wonderful opportunity to go to the Middle East in 2016, I believe, with a group of photographers, which was an incredible experience. I got to go to both Jordan and Saudi Arabia, and it was quite an experience. And I'm so glad I did it. Jordan is one of my favorite places in the world, and I can't wait to someday go back. It was wonderful. But yeah, I've done some time, some places, and Africa is definitely very much next on the continents I want to explore, and I'm excited about that. Smasherton, glad you found it. Small man is like 5 inches shorter than JJ. Yes, he is. I just love giving JJ a shit. 40 degrees is a great sleeping temp. I totally agree with you. It's kind of ideal. The key is just making sure your sleeping bag is warm enough. Jocelyn Snow is short, and she's a great BMW rider. She's just a great rider in general. Kick-ass human. Oh my God. Poor small man. Oh, nice. Lived in Taiwan for 13 years. That had to be quite an experience. I'm sure it was awesome and probably culture shock a little bit at first, but I'm sure it was a great experience. Did you ride with Birchie in New Zealand? No, I did not. When I was in New Zealand, I spent most of my time living out of a van with my ex, and it was great. The Milford Sound is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. I drank a lot of white wine while we were there. I had a great time. It was one of the most beautiful countries I've ever been to. I did a little bit of motorcycle riding while I was there. I will say it was so windy that I spent most of my time on a motorcycle absolutely terrified. But, you know, it is what it is. In general, I loved it there. I do want to go back at some point. It's incredible. Which country had the most challenging riding conditions? I would say still to this day, the most challenging riding I've done had nothing to do with terrain, but Thailand and the heat, the consistency of the heat was one of the hardest things I've ever dealt with. It was 115 degrees every day and humid. It was also burn season. So it basically felt like you were in a giant trash burning furnace all the time. I was on Pan America at the time, and I got 2nd-degree burns on the inside of my right thigh that I still have to this day. That was more of what I would call a sheer willpower trip that I still don't know how we got through it, but we did. As far as terrain goes, I think that being in Bali was very fun. Lots of fun terrain, not super challenging. Highly recommend going and doing a tour there, though. Shalice, if you want to look into that, I know some people over there that will take you. Vietnam, though, the single trek I did outside of Vietnam, one of the days was right after a rainstorm. And I say this phrase and it makes people laugh, but it was as slippery as owl snot out there. Like, it was just no traction. I also was on a 150cc bike with all of my luggage. And so not a lot of factors playing to my benefit. It was definitely challenging, but it was also the most beautiful place I think I've gotten to ride outside of the US. Baja is absolutely gorgeous. Definitely has some challenges. Sand being the main one of them, but I think riding in Baja is a total blast. It's just an adrenaline rush the whole time. So if you ever get the chance to go, definitely do that. Where if travel is out of reach, would you want to interview riders that rode there? Always. I love getting input from other riders. I mean, I think it's kind of cool to understand the different levels of terrain in different places and how, climatology impacts everything. But yes, I know you see a boat, Ben, just in this corner back here. The fire's on and she's happy. But yeah, I mean, I think the best thing about Oregon, not to digress from that, is we have so much incredible terrain here. We have high desert, we have mountains, we have rainforests, we have also the volcanic rock. Like we've got just everything you can imagine, the beach. So, I mean, I just feel so spoiled here. And after being able to travel and ride in a lot of places, like I do think that we live in one of the best places in the world to ride motorcycles. My interview skills are amazing. Thanks, Carl. My favorite bike I've owned. It's the one I currently own. My Honda 300 Rally. Best bike I've ever owned. I love it. I'm obsessed with it. I have been trying to ride it as much as I can. I just never, as much as I loved working with the Pan America team in Asia and then being given the opportunity to ride Pan Americas quite a bit in North America, I don't like heavy bikes. I just don't. I just have never been somebody that likes to be kind of manhandling a bike. I would much rather be on something small and light and be able to rip through just about anything and feel comfortable. And the other thing too is I'm 36 years old. I don't want a super heavy bike falling on top of me if I do something fucking stupid, which I tend to do quite often. Ben can attest to that. So lighter bikes, a lot more versatility. Also out here in Oregon, I'm, up behind my house, riding up towards Sisters along the Oregon BDR trail quite often when it's not snowed over like it is right now. And it's beautiful and wonderful. And I love it. So yeah, it's definitely the 300. It's my bike. It's the bike I was meant to have. And I'm so glad that Ben found that bike for me and convinced me to buy it. Thank you, Ben. I see about. Yeah, Shalise, I feel like you would love Vietnam. Definitely add it to your list. Also, I would love to go back with you if you guys want to do a group trip. But it's awesome. And if you guys want to go back and if you have any interest in riding with the guy that took me on one of his tours, he was amazing. So just keep in touch with me on that. I'd love to hook you up. We'll see if I can herd the cats to get out. Yeah. Sometimes it takes herding cats. Oregon, I think, yeah, everybody, Oregon sucks. It's terrible here. I don't know why I want to live here. Boo. Anyway, it just rains here. Yeah, I actually had a friend that got kind of stuck in Bali as well. There's a lot of people I think that really enjoyed living over there, though. It's definitely a different environment, but it is. I didn't love Bali. I'll be very honest with you. I went to Bali after being in Vietnam for 6.5 weeks, and I loved Vietnam. The reason I didn't love Bali like a lot of other people do is because I had just come off the high of being in Vietnam, and it was so westernized there. That challenge of having like the culture shock and adjusting and everything else it wasn't quite there for me. It just kind of felt like being in a big, kind of beach town. Plus there were fucking influencers everywhere in their thong bikinis trying to be the next whoever. And after a while, it just gets really old. Not to mention, I think they have under 20,000 people that live there permanently. And they have, I think, a couple million people that go through every year. So we're talking about a vast number of tourists that go through that I guess they can thank Eat, Pray, Love for that. Nice work, Julia Roberts. Let's see. Like rain and slop, come to Oregon. Yes, we do have a lot of rain and slop, especially right now. Even where I'm at, it's just gross. Let's see. Yeah, we're gonna keep it for ourselves. Oregonians get to keep Oregonia. No, the Transalp actually, I think, is an incredible bike. I would recommend that for anybody that wants to do touring. The other thing was I just my touring aspect of life is no longer. At least not for now. You know, when I moved back to Oregon, I got very involved in protecting and keeping our public lands open. I became a fierce advocate for that, and it's now my full-time job is essentially advocating for public lands and promoting and educating on responsible recreation while on those lands for motorized users. So I just found a calling that deserved my time and attention and permanence here. That being said, I also just am not the type of person that's going to let a bike sit in the garage. And when I started to do a lot more small bike stuff, and particularly after I went to BC with Ben and had the time of my life riding up there with the Traction E-Rag crew. By the way, I'm going to be back there in June. If you want to come with me, ladies, please sign up. You know, I came back and I knew that the time with the Transalp was at an end and that I wanted a smaller bike so that I could ride here and enjoy riding here. So it's just time and place. I didn't want the Transalp to sit in my garage, and it went to an amazing home with somebody that fucking loved the bike. So I don't feel bad about it at all. I'm actually really happy it went to a good home, and I get to ride the shit out of the bike I do have. Let's see. Yeah, awesome bike. Yes, there were bikini influencers, Ben. Jesus. Carl, you would look great in a thong bikini. Oh, it's so good. This guy's was not right. Hi, Thomas. Good evening. What else do we got? Folks can get involved with local groups working. Yeah. Real quick, I'll do a dive with the public lands aspect of things here. As a lot of you, I think, have seen on the news, Utah is a prime example of what happens when we don't take care of public lands or we don't advocate to keep them public. In Oregon, especially because we have a lot of BLM and Forest Service land here, you know, especially as somebody who's a recreationist and somebody that loves to be outside, whether it's with motorized or non-motorized. I just moved back here and made it my mission to make sure that we're always going to have places to go play outside. I mean, the idea of losing access to land, losing access to Mother Nature, no matter if it's on my feet or on wheels, like it just was so awful to imagine not being able to go out and hike where I wanted, ride where I wanted, and all of that. So I got very involved. First doing cleanups. So there's a lot of areas that need volunteers to go clean up. And then I eventually got my job working as the Oregon program manager for Tread Lightly, where I now get to full time be chasing down land managers and working with them to do educational events and, you know, all sorts of other things, stewardship projects, etc. But if you're looking to get more involved within your community, I mean, I think the big thing to look at is to look at the Forest Service and BLM websites. Find out a lot of the times they have local resources where you can find volunteer groups. And there are always going to be, if you have public land or any type of Forest Service land around you, they're especially looking for volunteers right now because the Forest Service is not hiring seasonal workers this year. So they are going to be needing a lot of volunteer help. I'm going to be very busy. But yeah, if that's something you're interested in, also, please feel free to shoot me a message on Instagram or you can email me. That's available through my website. I'm happy to help connect you with groups, but honestly, the easiest way to do it is just to do an online search of volunteer groups in your area. You will be able to find them very easily. Let's see here. Not the Coast Guard. Let's Scams. What did the Mormons do to public land? It wasn't really the Mormons, unfortunately. It was a combination of misuse from people, from recreationists. And it was also kind of a combination of commercialization and privatization that went awry and ended up backfiring. But it's been kind of a nightmare. They've been fighting back. I just personally don't want to see that happen in Oregon or Idaho or Washington. I would much rather be able to hold on to these incredible areas we have and not lose them. Yeah, Western Washington, thankfully Western Washington has a lot of lush areas that are Forest Service land. But we're all worried. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I jumped into my job is I never really had an interest in, I guess it's a hard way to say this. I never wanted to do an influencer lifestyle or any of that. It's one of the reasons why I've existed behind the scenes for as long as I have. I loved being a videographer and I loved working with brands and with influencers to build up their stuff from that. But I wanted to have a purpose and a job that I cared about. And so when I found the need and the push to hop into protecting lands, that's what I did. And I think more people need to be aware of the threat that they're under right now, because once we lose access to the land, we don't get it back. Plain and simple. So if you want to keep your lands open, you need to make sure you're advocating for them and volunteering to help keep them clean. And also doing your part to make sure you're not destroying them or trashing them yourselves. So, yeah, I also blame. Don't take this personal side-by-side, people. I know a lot of you are great, but there are a lot of you that suck. So I do blame side-by-side people for a lot of that. And you can blow that up anywhere. I don't care. We all know it. We all know it. I was just out of Klein today. There was some bad shit there from some side-by-sides. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, lots of people closing gates. Lots of land closures because of Forest Service budget cuts this year. Yeah, it's. I will say that in some circumstances, it's not permanent. Like I'm working with the Forest Service around Detroit Lake right now, and they're going to be opening a lot of trail systems and the McCoy OHV area again soon. They're also looking at a lot of areas around Lebanon where Ben is in the foreseeable future. That whole area, they're essentially trying to go in and revamp and open trails. So it can get reopened, but it just takes a lot longer than most people think it will. But that's not always the case either. Excuse me. Yeah. Dork is the influencer. Excuse me. Yeah. Hold on, guys. I'm dying. All right, we're live. Yeah. Ben, you're the influencer. Are you going to work on me with Tread Lightly sometime soon? I wonder. Maybe a video coming. Maybe. What else do we got? Month in Redmond, Ben and Sisters. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of issues around Central Oregon, particularly with the displaced community as well. There's just been a lot of trash and a lot of dumping from town. There are people that go out to public land and just dump their own trash. So it's a widespread issue that have a lot of variables, but it's been a huge problem. Yeah, I know snow machines, and for anyone that's not in Canada or Alaska, it's snowmobiles, but snowmobiles and snow machines have especially been hit hard this year. I'm actually working with a Forest Service ranger right now to go up around Dutchman, which is up by Bachelor, to go do some signage in the next couple of weeks, because there's been a lot of issues with people going not where they're supposed to, but then there's also, a lot of closures as a result of that. So we're trying to prevent that as best we can. Yeah, Shalisa, I'm sad we can't ride China Hat. Thankfully, there are some areas a little further out we'll be able to get to. I actually just met with the Forest Service about that today. I have the map. There are some areas we're going to be able to get out to and ride. We're just going to have to take a very roundabout way to get there, unfortunately. But, we'll make do with what we have, right? Let's see. Will the podcast ever make a return? Maybe. Ben and I have been working on a lot of different things. Obviously, my work has pulled me towards the lands sector of life. Ben is continuing to be the wonderful and glamorous influencer that he is. But I think at some point we will do a podcast series. I don't know what we will do it on, but I know we are both missing that as well. So I would say there will be a season 2 of sorts. We don't know what it's going to be yet, but probably will happen sometime soon. Right, Ben? Yeah. Current events, we want updates. The biggest update right now, Carl, is the book is out. Other than that, I'm just fighting the good fight here. I did just, as of today, find out what my next documentary project is going to be, which I'm super excited about. And I had for a time kind of pumped the brakes on that for a bit. But I am going to be shooting a documentary here locally, again, kind of like what I did with Public Land Stewards. And it will be land focused, but it's going to be a really cool piece that I'm looking forward to. And I'll share more of that as time goes on. Let's see what else we got. Snowmobiles suck too, but only because I don't have one. Nice. Hi, Chad. So glad you're here. I hope your foot's okay post hardware removal. Let's see what else we got. The sheriff told me if I camp China Hat, my motorcycles and camper will be gone. As of right now, China Hat will be closed on May 1st, and it will be closed for a minute. I know they said a year. I would bet possibly more. That's all I'll share. But unfortunately, with how wild things got out there, I am not sure camping off China Hat close to Bend would ever be a good idea. That will be different. Once China Hat reopens close to town, there will not be any more dispersed camping. That is something that the Forest Service is holding a firm line with. So that there will be plenty of other places to go camp, but close to town in that area, it will not be allowed anymore. It will have to be in a designated either kind of like OHV area or whatever else, and that is much further out east. She's lying. I'm not allowed to hang out with public. Oh, stop. The influencer is butthurt. So sorry, Ben. Ben, you should become a bikini influencer. I feel like that would be like only beards, right? Didn't we talk about that for? Looking forward to the podcast as well. Yeah, the boat is up. Any other questions, you guys? I could talk about more public land stuff if you want. I can talk more about book stuff. I can talk about Annabelle sleeping in the corner. I know Ben is obsessed with Annabelle. I'm also obsessed with all of my dogs. Dork in a thong. My God, Ben, we should do Rick, I was just saying that. We should do a calendar. How fun would that be? I tried to pitch. I know a lot of people might not know this, but I tried to pitch a Men of Giant Loop calendar for a while with Giant Loop. They didn't quite bite on it, but maybe this year we can get everybody in on that. That would be pretty rad. It definitely won't be for the ladies, but that's okay. Oh, thanks, Shalise. You're wonderful. I adore you. Chad, of course, we're down to do only beards. No surprise there. Corey was going to do March because Leprechaun. Yeah, Leprechaun. Pretty fitting. In other news, yeah, the book is going to be great, you guys. I really hope everybody enjoys it. If you don't, I apologize. It's meant to just be a way to tell my story in at least the first 3 decades of my life story. And I thought I had at least a little bit of wisdom I could offer that might help people want to get out of their box and do something a little bit different with their life. Talk about my current situation. Oh, I guess current situation means life updates. So for those of you who haven't been updated by me in a while, I moved back to Bend permanently. I live in a little town called Tumalo that is outside of Bend, and I live right next to an alpaca farm with 7 alpacas. They're hilarious animals. And I get to watch the Three Sisters Mountains get hit by sunrise every morning. It's pretty spectacular. But yeah, I'm essentially am working in the fields almost every day. It's been awesome. I'm essentially just on the front lines of fighting for public lands all the time. When I'm not doing that, I'm this time of year not doing much riding, but I'm either skiing, snowshoeing, or out on a snowmobile. Those are pretty much the 3 things that occupy my time. And I'm working on a video project right now that will come out this summer for the Overland Foundation, which I'm very excited about. It essentially is just what I've been chirping about a lot lately: responsible recreation, how to get out there and explore and have an amazing time out in Mother Nature while also being able to do the right things to take care of it so we can maintain access to it. So that's something that I'm kind of finalizing right now for them. It will be playing at the expos. I'll be at the Overland Expo in PNW. I will also be at Giant Loop, as always. I think a little birdie told me that there won't be a dork this year, which is very sad because he wasn't there last year because of COVID. Anyway, won't talk about that. But yes, I have a wonderful truck. I have a Tacoma. It's tan. I love it. It's my baby. Yeah, and life is good. I have a wonderful fiance who I'm obsessed with, and he's a really wonderful dude. I actually met him volunteering on public land and doing a cleanup. He's really wonderful, very supportive. I sent him out because he was nervous for me for tonight, which then, me nervously trying to figure out the camera situation didn't help. But yeah, let's see, what else do we got? Okay, so I feel like we need to do the calendar. I'm going to push the calendar again. I think that would be amazing. Yeah, the alpaca farm next door is so much fun. There's a couple of other farms around, lots of goats, lots of horses. There is actually a neighbor I have that has a water buffalo. I'm not kidding. Like the big long horns, like super hairy actual water buffalo. I think he has 12 of them. It's absurd, but Central Oregon, I tell you. Calendar dorks in the road. I love it. I'll post some more pictures of this place. It's really wonderful. I love it here. I feel very fortunate that I get to be here. The coffee house has alpaca dog cookies. There is actually a coffee shop. Yeah, the one in Tumalo has a ton of alpaca stuff. I don't know what it is with alpacas and people out here, but it's pretty funny. It's not sand, it's tan. Fine, it's tan, whatever. How can we as a community support you and help further what you're working on? Carl, you're not going to Giant Loop either? Oh my God, what am I going to do? It's just going to be me and Brady. Oh, goodness. Anyway, honestly, the best thing you guys can do for me right now, buy and enjoy the book. Just keep following me. Starting next week, I'm actually really excited. My YouTube page is going to have a different type of push where I'm going to be sharing a lot of what I deal with on a bi-weekly basis within my job. And the idea behind that is to show people what it takes to keep public lands open and accessible so that we do a better job taking care of them. So that's going to be something that if you've enjoyed my YouTube videos in the past, it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, a lot of it is me making jokes and being out in the field and seeing some really crazy shit, and also dealing with tough situations and having to work with land managers to keep things open. So that's going to be my latest series other than the Overland Foundation series. And so a lot of it's going to be really beautiful cinematic footage and then talking about why Mother Nature is awesome. There we go. I know Starbuck and Tamsin need to be reunited soon. I'm going to be there in a couple weeks. Don't forget, we're doing something special. Right. Not telling anybody. Alpaca picnics are fun. Yes. What was the first motorbike I ever swung a leg over? This is a great question. When I turned 22, I had made a promise to my parents that I wouldn't ride motorcycles until I was done with school. So the weekend after I graduated from college, I went in and took my endorsement class, got my license. And then 3 days after that, I went and bought a used Honda Shadow. And that was the first bike that I had. And I loved it. I rode the shit out of that bike all the time. I rode it everywhere. It was amazing. And motorcycles were just, from the minute I hopped on one, I knew I loved them. It was incredible. What else we got? Oh, Carl. I'm just going to have to come visit you guys then. That's easy. Moscow budget Burning Man hippie fest in the desert. I'm going to be at the Dusty Lizard in Moab. Woo! My friend Michaela and I are going. I'm so excited. I can't wait to be there and go ride in Moab. I've been wanting to go for a while. I also am way overdue at a Moscow event because Moscow's been an amazing partner of mine. I'm officially an ambassador for them, and I love working with them and being a part of that community. So I will be in Moab in April. So if you guys aren't signed up already and want to go, please come hang out with me and ride in Moab. It's going to be a blast. It's not super expensive, and it's just going to be so much fun. Who's going to patch up your broken ribs? I'm just going to have to come visit and patch up your broken ribs, Carl. That's just how it's going to have to be, I suppose. Yeah. I will say, hold on. I'm getting so many notifications. I will say that I think one of the most interesting moments from the trip, Carl, was when your KTM almost overheated when we were pulling into Eagle Plains. For those of you who don't know the story, on our way back from Tuktoyakta, Carl got so much mud and stuff caked on his bike that essentially it started to overheat when we were like a quarter of a mile from Eagle Plains, which was a miracle. But it was an insane experience. And also, just so you know, they have to truck in their water. So we were like trying to use some of the water that was there without having to use too much of it. But anytime I like have a moment where there's like mud on the bike, Carl, I always think about your bike overheating. I don't know why that stuck with me so hard, but yeah. Moab hard enduro. Yeah, I'm so down. Let's do it. Yes, Carl does spend all of his time in a flying ambulance. Yes, I am trying to lead by example, I suppose. I don't have any kids of my own yet. That's something that has become something I've thought about currently. But I will say that as I've gotten older, one of the things that starts to, I guess, become prevalent for a lot of us is what type of a legacy we're going to leave behind. And one of the things with lands that stuck with me so hard was it was so much bigger than just me. When I was traveling on a motorcycle, that was a personal journey for me. That was an incredible trip for me to find my feet, to rediscover who I was, and to find a way to just kind of move forward from a lot of the things of my past that had been inhibiting me for some time. And then I got back to Bend and I was ready for something bigger. And that something bigger was finding a purpose that was bigger than this, I think the motorcycle travels I did, I think the adventures I had, the experiences I had were so unique and wonderful, but there's something so different when your mission is to just make the world better. And that's a promise I made myself a long time ago, is that I wanted to leave this world better than I found it. And by finding a path forward, first volunteering and then having a career within protecting public lands and teaching people how to recreate responsibly, I found my purpose. I found my mission in life, which is to not only just be out there and enjoy it and encourage other people to get out and enjoy it, which is what I do with my social media, but protecting that for everybody is what I want to do. I want to protect the adventure for everybody. And I think that's very important, especially in this time period, because once the land is gone, it's gone. We don't get it back. Not making any more of it. Wambulance. Oh my God. Nice. Yeah, exactly, Thomas. I mean, it's just, they're not making any more of it. I don't think we're going to be terraforming Mars anytime soon. So we got to make the most of what we have. And I know anybody who is on this live or ever watches it or has watched my channel likes to be outside, or at least likes to, you know, enjoy Mother Nature from time to time, whether it's on 2 to 4 wheels or 2 to 4 legs. So preserving that for us, for our mental, physical, and emotional health is something I'm very passionate about, if you can't tell. So, yes, I love you too, Carl, very much. You are my family. You know this. I love travel because it gives you context. Well, I think like a lot of you, and I promise we're going to wrap this up shortly. I'm going to keep it at 90 minutes because I figured an hour would be good. And since the first 25 minutes are me struggling with the camera, again, apologies, everyone. We'll wrap it at 90. But I fell in love with travel through Anthony Bourdain, like so many people did. You know, one of the most inspirational things I found when I was young, because I loved writing. You know, this book that came out, by the way, for those of you that don't know, is my 4th book. I have a historical fiction thriller trilogy in which I'm in the process of finishing. The first 2 books are out. And then I also wrote an apocalyptic sci-fi novel a couple years ago during the pandemic. But writing is something I've always done. Being a writer is what I always wanted to do, which was what Anthony Bourdain was. And then you added the travel and food element to it. I mean, how would you not want that life? I mean, he lived a life we could only dream of. And so I found a lot of inspiration in that, which is why once I got done with college, I spent every free dime I had traveling all the time, everywhere I could, and eating all the food I could. And it's just such an incredible experience to be able to do that. And I think one of the best parts about that too is just you get to understand different cultures and understand that while people are very different, we're also very, very much the same. A lot of people just want the same things in life. You know, they want themselves, their family, their friends to be happy and healthy. They want to be able to put food on the table. They want to be comfortable. And they want to have some kind of purpose. And that is the intrinsic DNA in each of us, I really think. And you start to notice that the more you travel. And I think that having Anthony Bourdain inspire me to do that definitely is what got me here. And my full circle moment was being in Vietnam, which I think was one of his favorite places to go. And really feeling with every step that I was fulfilling some kind of legacy I needed to. Let's see. We have visit debt. Yeah, we have visit debt. This is also just to say, by the way, this has been so much fun. I do really appreciate everybody taking time out of their Friday to be here. You know, I kind of was joking earlier and said, you know, if 4 people show up and just want to hang out and talk to me, it's going to make me so happy. Anybody that wants to connect over something as fun as a book or just what I've even done in the last couple of years means a lot to me. A lot of my story is kind of crazy. You know, my parents still think I'm batshit, you know, for doing what I did and for still doing what I do. I mean, one of the best parts about my life is that even though I'm not traveling on a motorcycle, what a lot of people don't know is I'm out sleeping in the woods at least 4 times a month. And that I'm doing now, even during winter. I'm with somebody now that, like me, just loves to be outside. And so even though I'm not doing it at a travel capacity as much, doing it in Oregon and Oliver, Oregon is all I ever wanted to do. And again, most people think we're nuts, but we love it. We take the dogs everywhere with us, and we make the most of it, whether we're snowmobiling 20 miles into a campsite, or we're just driving into a dispersed spot by a creek and hanging out for the night. It's awesome. Will we get family travels as life progresses? Yes, of course. Also, thank you, Rick. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, I mean, if I do eventually procreate, which may happen, may or may not happen, that's up to Mother Nature at this point. No matter what, they're going everywhere. The movement won't stop. It's just you're either coming or you're not. And for the first 5 to 10 years of life, there won't be an option. So I think that's kind of the vibe I've always felt for myself is even within having a semi-conventional life, I will live an unconventional life because I think having normal parameters is not something I have ever felt would adhere to me as a person. I want to do things differently. I like doing things differently. And I also like pushing myself a lot, whether that's being out in the woods and having to find a way to work while I'm camped out 30 miles from a road. Thank you, Starlink, by the way. Oh my God, Starlink changed my life. But being able to build a life around the things you love doing, I think is something we all need to try and do for ourselves, because then it makes every day awesome. All right. 2.5 minutes. Who has a question? Does anybody have a question? Does anybody have a question? Have a sip of wine. If anybody has anything else? Giant hoops just for Carl. I'm going to remember that one. But yeah, if anybody has anything else, I'm right here. You have another minute and 15 seconds. I will say, sounds good, Carl. Love you. Kendra, love you too. Thank you for calling me. I will say this, from the bottom of my heart, for anybody that's been with me since day one, thank you. This has been an incredible journey I've been on. In 3 years, I went from not even knowing how to film anything to winning an Emmy Award and becoming a professional videographer on the side of what I do. And, I just, being given the opportunity to grow within this community and on this platform has been insane and so fun. I don't know. It's humbling, to be honest. And I also do want to say, and I'm not just saying this because it's Ben, but one of the best friends I've ever made in my life has been Ben, Dork in the Road. Ben helped me get through one of the toughest times of my life. And he also has been one of the best buddies I've ever had. We've done a lot of riding together. His wife is one of my favorite humans on the planet. And, you make friends in life, but it's very difficult to find friends that really see you and love you and just celebrate you for what you are. And Ben and I have always had a nice friendship like that. So, I hope everybody has those people in this community. I know I have a lot of you here right now that are the same and feel the same. And I just want to say, really, it's so wonderful. Oregon, especially the Pacific Northwest, the riders up here. I love you guys. It's wonderful. And through the giant loop rides and through, video stuff, it's been great to get to know a lot of you and meet you. And thank you for being on this journey with me. It's been spectacular. But yeah, Yes, Dork and I will at some point bring back the podcast. I promise. Yeah, but anyway, I will say on that note, we're going to close out, y'all. I love all of you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time on a Friday. Please go buy the book. Please go buy the book, and spread it out to your friends. Thank you for being here and taking time with me tonight. You all are great. And don't ever hesitate to send me an email, send me a message, try and connect. And if you're ever in Central Oregon, we'd love to see all of you. So thank you guys so much. Take care of yourselves, and let's get ready for a really kick-ass riding season in 2025. All right. Take care. Cheers.